Alright, Treasure in the Snow by Lil, Chapter 4. The bath was a large white room that held a huge pool of shallow, steamy water. A white shelf and rail lined all four walls, and there were a few same-colored benches scattered about. Alga leaned one against a wall and promptly went into a snoring slumber. The dirty sheet was thrown off onto a shelf. Shallow or not, the water was still up to Cherie's chin if she climbed all the way in, so she sat on the broad, curved steps that went down into the warm water. She aptly sat for a time soaking in the heat, but it was hard to feel totally comfortable with a loud Alga and a cruel witch invading one's thoughts. Stupid old Selene. No, if she won't call me Cherie, then I will call her something else too. Meanie or cruel one. Yeah, just wait till I see her again and say, "Greetings, cruel one." She'd hate that, but then there'd be ramifications and suffering. Nothing to eat. Stupid old Selene. Suddenly there was a sneeze by the doorway, and someone ran off with a stumbling run. Cherie's first thought was that it was Selene, but decided she'd never run away like that. Berta was too old. Alga was right here. How many more people lived at Mordred Castle? Disliking feeling so vulnerable, she rose and dried herself with one of the white towels hanging on the rail. Towel wrapped with hair dripping, she tapped Alga's shoulder lightly, and the woman kept on snoring. She tapped harder and stated the skinny old woman's name. Still the snoring kept on. It took pushing white-haired Alga off from her bench to awaken her. She sat on the floor looking lost and rubbing her bottom for a few moments, and then said something about it getting late. Cherie took her crinkled hand and helped her up. Then they walked to a room across from the baths. It had the same reddish-brown colored walls and floor as the main entry, but it was lined with simple beds. There was a wardrobe with a drawer in the bottom next to each bed on the left, and a chest at each bed's foot. "These are the women's dorms," Alga said with a yawn. "Berta sleeps nearest the door, and I sleep nearest it on the other side there. You may choose any other then, since we be the only women here." "What about Selene?" "Oh, the lady has her own room in her wing up north. You must never go into the wing, dearie. Now off to bed with ye. The sooner you sleep, the sooner you'll wake, and ye can eat some breakfast. I think I will make you eggs and flat cakes. Yes, eggs." Alga's eagerness to get back to her snoring kept her from finishing the words spoken whilst climbing into her bed. Cherie felt scared about who might have been at the door while she was in the baths, though she didn't know why it frightened her. She finally decided Alga was right about sleep meaning she could eat sooner, and chose the bed next to hers. She awakened twice that night. Berta came in and joined her mumbles to Alga's snoring. Cherie was used to her father's snores, but she had never heard someone talk in their sleep before. It took her a while to fall back to sleep because every time she'd start to doze off, she'd think Berta had said something to her. The second waking was strange, and in the morning Cherie wondered if it had been a dream. She awoke crying for her mother and found the cruel one standing by her bed watching her cry. With a whimper, Cherie reached out to her, and the woman, stone-faced, took her hand with glowing purple eyes and told her something she couldn't remember, but felt like a song. When she next opened her eyes, it was morning. Alga and Berta were both up and eating eggs already when Cherie got up and came to eat, wearing a little white dress that had been draped over the end of the bed. It actually fit her quite well, for not having been fitted, Berta was a very good seamstress. Breakfast was delightful, eaten through laughter at Alga and Berta arguing over whether their father had preferred grits or bacon with his eggs in the morning. It ended when Berta actually spit on Alga's eggs, so Alga dumped them over Berta's head. Cherie almost choked, she laughed so hard. After breakfast, she had to help with the dishes with Alga, while Berta pulled out a long measuring line and measured her from behind. Then Berta left, mumbling about drab colors, and she helped Alga to wipe the table off before they left the kitchen. "Now, dearie, we have to sweep and mop up the halls. I will do M and A so long as you do N, all right? That way you won't have to drag a bucket around being so little. I will set it right outside the kitchen here, and you can bring the mop back and forth. Got it?" "I have to mop the whole hall?" "Yep, down to the very end. I have never done so much, but I will try." "Course you will, and you'll do a fine job of it. I got faith in you." "Thanks," Cherie said, blushing and trying not to think about how long the hall was. After the old woman left, Cherie started mopping. She only got to the women's dorms before she felt tired. She didn't even know what all was down this hall. She decided a little exploring would help her rest so she could come back and do more. She walked to the very end and found a huge double doors with horses on them. She couldn't get through them, but there was a small opening with a flap at the bottom of the right one, so she crawled through it and found herself outside. But it wasn't the same scene as in front of the castle had held. There were fenced-in fields with horses and an orchard, all covered in snow. There was a gaping cave at the entry to this little haven, probably, where the carriage had gone before, and a barn was built against the rock face. The whole area was surrounded by stone. She realized that there were goats and sheep in one of the fields and ran to see them. They looked silly, gray goats mixed in with white sheep, but they all were together, munching on hay from a trough in the center of the field. Some of the goats were missing a horn. Only one sheep had horns, and they curled around in loops. "What are you doing out here?" Cherie turned and found she almost bumped into Darren. She hadn't heard him come up behind her. He didn't look mad or happy, more distrusting and something else she couldn't place. "I like the animals." "Then go play with the cat. These ones aren't pets. Now that you came outside, you must be dirty. I will take you to have a bath." "I have to finish mopping first or I'll just get dirty again." His face did become angry. "Why?" He turned around and walked toward the barn. "Go do your mopping then." She crawled back through the flap and found herself looking at Celine's embroidered green slippers. "Why are you not working?" "I was, but I got tired, so I took a break." "You were given a job to do. Do it." "Please, I want to go home." "You have no home to go to." "What do you mean?" "Do your work. This is home now." The cruel one walked away, expecting her to obey. Did she mean she was going to live here forever? But she didn't want to. Cherie pouted as she mopped again.